Welcome to the Berg Podcast, where we will discuss all things Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I'm your host, Alicia Williams. Hattiesburg, also known as the Hub City, or the Pine Belt, is a bustling town in southern Mississippi. It's an educational, cultural, business, and medical hub for the region, and we're pleased to share stories from our community. On today's episode of the Berg Podcast, we have two interviews with two business owners who are growing their young businesses within Hattiesburg and about the direction they want their business to go. We'll also have two audio essays. In our first interview, Zion Cochran visits a local business detailing how his herbal tonic business has brought holistic healing and a healthy lifestyle to the Pine Belt.
I'm Zion Cochran for the Bird Podcast. Today I'm interviewing Julius Romanique. My guest, Julius Romanique, is a local business owner in the city of Hattiesburg. His business name is Rafa Blends LLC. And with this business, he sells holistic herbs, herbal tonics, and sea moss, and various other variety of holistic medicines. Thanks for being here with us today, Julius.
Hey, thank you for the invite. I'm glad to be here.
All right, let's get started. My first question for you is, what inspired you to start this business in holistic herbs and medicine? Why not just go into regular medicine?
Well, when I started researching about herbs and how they affect the human body, I took a notice into it. And then I started seeing how it affected my body and, the people around me at the time. And, it started taking off, with the people around me. So I was like, maybe I could turn this into a business. And, that's how I got started.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. My next question is, how did you first become interested in this holistic healing? Was it a person? Was it a company? Was it someone else that perhaps put you, that was a bridge to this? How did you first become interested in holistic healing?
Okay, so odd enough, I actually started off wanting to be a chef. I've always been into food and I guess plants, but I didn't recognize that that's really what it was. And I used to cook a lot. And I'll never forget, shout out to my auntie Gail. She recommended that I should get my degree in nutrition instead of going to culinary school. And I wasn't trying to hear that at the time. I just wanted to eat and, feel good, have good old comfort Southern food, But for some reason, it just stuck with me. And I started following, like plant-based people, vegans and stuff like that on social media, and started seeing them posting about, herbs that have been said to, quote unquote, cure flu symptoms in up to 48 hours. Herbs like elderberry or herbs like sea moss that contain 90% of the nutrients that our body needs. And when I started seeing stuff like that, I had to try it for myself. And when I did, I knew that what I had discovered was gold.
Thank you much for the insight, and thank you, Auntie, as well. And my next question for you is, what was the first step you took to start this business?
Okay, so oddly enough, at the time, I had just quit my job at Topher's. Yeah, I was working at Topher's my senior year of high school. Around like November is when I quit. I had maybe my last like $60, and I spent money to order my first herb, which was sea moss. And after I ordered the sea moss for the first time, I saw how much abundance I got off of the sea moss. And again, I noticed how well it was benefiting my body. I was like, what do I do with all of this? And I was like, well, I'm just going to try and sell it. And I went to my uncle's barbershop. Shout out to the barber studio in Hattiesburg, the best barbershop here. Yeah, I went to his barbershop, and immediately people started buying it after I explained what it was and the benefits of it. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. All right. And my next question will be, do you face any challenges when launching your business? I know more often than not when people start their businesses, especially in the local community, that sometimes they face challenges, maybe with distribution, maybe it's with getting the products. What are 2 challenges you face when you first launch your business?
Okay, really, majority of my challenges at first were, they were just money problems. I didn't have the money really to start. I just started with what I had. And I didn't even realize that that's what I was doing. I really just believed that, God carried me through that. I started with what I had. I knew what I knew, and that was enough. But later on, the problem became doubt and disbelief. There was nothing holding me back but myself. Believing that I was incapable, believing that, I was unqualified, and some things it was really just a mixture of doubt and laziness, and just feeling defeated. But, those are my main challenges. I had the resources I needed. I just wouldn't even dare to open my mouth really because I just, was discouraged at one point. But yeah, that's it.
I completely understand with that. And I believe what you just described it's a term called imposter syndrome. Yeah. And imposter syndrome is, for the ones who don't know, it's when you have the qualifications to be in a certain area or place in life. However, one may feel they're not supposed to be there. They're inadequate, or maybe they don't have the tools to be efficient and successful in that environment. And that's not to say that you weren't efficient or successful, because you were. But I believe, a lot of us suffer from imposter syndrome, and I feel like a lot of research can be done for myself and everyone included when it comes to imposter syndrome, because I have suffered from this as well. And my 5th question for you is, how did you come up with the name of your product line?
So I came up with the name. Really, it was God-given, because I never forget, I was on social media, and I'm always going to credit it back to God because I can't breathe without him anyway. But I was on social media and I was seeing people's different Instagram names, and certain people had names that had Hebrew meanings to it. And I wanted something that had something that was different. And I saw people, they had the name Rapha in their names. And, I was like, well, how can I fit Rapha in there? Because I see in the Bible, it calls God, one of his names is Jehovah Rapha. In ancient Hebrew, it'd be Yahweh Rapha, which means God is my healer. So, in Hebrew, Rapha means healer. So I was like, I want something in here that is that means to heal. So Rapha means to heal or to restore to wellness. So once I saw that, I was like, well, I need to be able to incorporate this into the herbal world. And the main thing that I do is herbal teas. And you would call a herbal tea a collection of herbs, a blend. So I'm like, Rapha blends. That's good. And that's how it stuck. So, yeah.
Wow, that's a really unique and beautiful story right there. Mm-hmm. That's really great. And my next question for you would be is, who were 2 mentors or influences that guided you in the beginning of your journey? Right now, your business is, I believe, 4 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. But who were some of those mentors and influences that got you, I would say, kick-started on this journey?
Let me see. I don't really know anybody personally who's doing what I'm doing, but I know other people. Well, Yeah, I know people online who's doing what I'm doing. I'll say that. But main people who helped me and guided me is my dad. Shout out to Tony, Adam, Romanek Jr. He helped me, secure the financing for my business. Has been, the main person in my ear encouraging me to stay on track, even when I didn't feel, qualified or feel like I had the capability. He was the main person. And now, as far as mentors, the late great Dr. Sebi, he's the main one, I would say. And I have other herbal friends. I got a friend in Michigan. His name is Fizz. He's been a good mentor to me. There's been another brother down in Florida. He's been a good brother to me as well. A good mentor to me. But yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And for the audience that doesn't know, Dr. Sebi was a very influential person in his own right. And if you do a Google search on him, you'll see a lot of mixed feelings about what he did, what he pursued. But nevertheless, if you look up the name Dr. Sebi, you will learn a whole lot of information concerning herbs, natural remedies, and things in that umbrella right there. And I have about 2 more questions for you here. What was your initial goal or vision for your business? Of course, the goal of every business is to make money, but what makes your business stand out? What is that goal? What are you trying to achieve in the end all?
Okay, so my initial vision is really to help people to know that there is another way to achieve health and wellness outside of what is being pushed and outside of what is being presented, especially for the minorities out there, the Black and brown people. Our people, we are the most disease-stricken people. And oddly enough, you go read, Deuteronomy chapter 28 talks about how, the descendants of the Israelites would be, impoverished and disease-stricken and, just in utter oppression their entire existence. And I really believe that we have, strong connection to them, based on, archaeology and things of that nature. But nonetheless, I really want us to see that we can be healthy, and that taking things like pharmaceuticals, they have their benefits short term, but as we all know, when taking them, you take it for one thing and then it causes several other side effects, and that's not an environment conducive for healing. You take it for one thing and it messes up 4 and 5 other things, whereas herbs don't do that. I ain't gonna say don't do that, but they don't do it to the degree that pharmaceuticals do it to. If you get a side effect for a herb, likely it's gonna be for what you're taking it for. Like if you're taking a herb for lowering blood pressure, the side effect is gonna be that it could potentially lower your blood pressure too much. If it's that strong. And there are certain herbs that are stronger and weaker than others, just like how there are certain, quote unquote medications that are stronger and weaker than others. But usually, for the most part, you don't see that many drawbacks and side effects with, herbs. So, yeah.
Great response there. I really appreciate your knowledge and your vision on that. And I have 2 more questions before we conclude our interview. What was the first product that you offered, and why this particular product?
So the first product that I offered was sea moss. Sea moss is it's a seaweed that contains about 92 minerals, and the human body is made up of like 102 minerals. So sea moss has roughly 90% of what our body is made of. So it's like nature's multivitamin. And it doesn't have everything in high amounts, but it has most of the trace minerals and most of the vitamins that we need in high amounts, like high in calcium, high in magnesium, high in phosphorus, high in, zinc, a good source of iron, great source of folate and B12 and cobalt and sulfur. These are all things great for building strong bones and good digestion and strong hair, nice, moisturized and nice moisturized skin, fighting inflammation and acne, so on and so forth. To get to the point though, CMOS is a powerhouse, and I sold it first because it can act really fast. It can be used for a plethora of things, and it's versatile. You don't have to just use it in one way. You can cook with it. You can put it in a smoothie. You can break it down in applesauce. You can eat it straight up if you want, and you're gonna reap the benefits. Especially if your body is able to absorb well. But if not, sea moss does help improve nutrient absorption. So, yeah.
Yes. And for the ladies and gentlemen that have not tried CMOS, as a podcast host here, I've tried it before, and I could say it is a super vitamin. It helps with skin care, vitamin deficiency, helps with losing weight, gaining weight. It's truly unique in itself, and I would recommend anyone of any age, any place of life, try this supplement, CMOS. My last question for you is, looking back, you've had your business for 5 years now. What would you do differently with the knowledge that you have now with starting your business?
Well, I got to go back and clean that up a little bit. Officially, I've only on paper legally had my business since June of 2023. So it's been 2 years now. But, prior to that, unofficially, it wasn't even called Rafa Blends then. I've only had the name Rafa Blends for 2 years. It just was, I'm a dude who knows a little bit about herbs and, really was a hustle, honestly. But one thing that I would do different, never give up on myself, never allow doubt to creep into my mind and come into agreement with those thoughts. Because the way I started out, I've heard greater testimonies from when I started out versus from now. I'm still hearing great testimonies, but when I started out, it was crazy. So never doubt myself, never give up on myself. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. And one last little informatory thing. Where can people reach your business? Maybe Facebook, Instagram, an email, a location. Where can people access and purchase your products?
Well, I have a Facebook page. It's called Rafa Blends LLC. It's RAPHABLENDS LLC. You can reach me on Facebook. I also have a TikTok account underneath the same name. On Instagram, you can find me at Rafa.Blends LLC. And also, in every one of those social media accounts on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, my website link is there. But for those who don't do social media, you can reach me at Rafa, RAPHA, Rafa Blends .myshopify.com. Again, that is Rafa Blends .myshopify.com. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I hope you guys were informed and learned a lot from this interview. And with that said, thanks so much for talking with us, Julius Romanique. I'm Zion Cochran for the Bird Podcast.
In our next interview, Kennedy Newson interviews a local photographer who describes his techniques, the struggles of growing his business, and the inspiration for starting it.
I'm Kennedy Newson for the Bird Podcast. Today I am interviewing Rodarius Washington. My guest is a self-employed photographer who owns RM Visuals LLC. He has been a Hattiesburg photographer for about 3 years, and his work is amazing. He is also a Southern Miss alumni. Rodarius, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's get into the first question. What inspired you to start your photography business, and how did you transition from a hobby to a profession?
So, I went to USM, and this whole time was interested in cameras and just anything about saving money. So every shoot I did, every time I just wanted to do a photo shoot, I took my own photos. I took other people's photos. I had a big interest in just editing in general. So I would say around 2020, that's when COVID hit, and I had a lot of time to produce my own thing. So I was a dance major. So after we was let go from being at USM, we had to retreat home. So within that time, I had to produce dance videos, dance films, just a lot of virtual things. So during that time, I had time to explore, had to edit my own different projects for class, different things like that. So from that moment, I kind of wanted to become serious, but I didn't venture off to be in professional work until 2022 in April. So I had joined the organization. It's called US Fly Art. It's a newly organization now. In that moment, we was in the works of trying to create something for the USM campus, fashion, art, media, entertainment. So through that organization, I was able to kind of build a portfolio quickly, and I didn't. In that moment, I didn't have really a website. Probably I just started it. Majority of my clients were USM students. I was able to kind of build skills and cultivate professionalism through my mentor Ariana McGee, and since then she still is my person that I've looked to kind of refine what I do. So I always been an interest, but now it's now not a hobby. It's my work, full-time job.
I love that. Okay. So now can you walk us through your creative process when preparing for a photo shoot from the initial concept to the final product?
So it's three different approaches. So I have so depending on my work, each client is very different. So I have some clients that wants to be hands-on for their sessions, some that come with zero, some will comes with a little, and it's kind of like 50-50. So for the ones that come to me and they have ideas already ironed out, I'll tell them to provide everything that you have, and let's see what works, we'll see what doesn't work. So normally they'll come with maybe like 20 photos, and through the 20 photos, I probably see three concepts, but they're only preparing for maybe two or one. So when I start the process, I look at it from my perspective. I say, okay, I like this, I like this, I like this, don't like this, don't like this, and I offer kind of like a alternative version that kind of combines everything, that elements that we like of each. So after that moment, we just prepare for the session. During the shoot, we just hit all the marks that we prepared for, and afterwards, that's when I ask the client how much creative freedom do you want to provide. So in that moment, I go in and do a lot of editing and different Photoshop and add different elements. And for the other, I would just go into like my own personal projects that I do. I'll I do a lot of surfing on social media, but I use that as not just the content that I want to do. I just kind of look at it and see what elements do I like from all of the inspo that I provided. So I'll probably look at over like 20 pictures. I said, well, I want to do something dark and moody. I want to do something with color. I want something with movement. I want something with motion blur. And from that moment, I kind of compile it there. And I use like mediums like Pinterest, of course, and Instagram, TikTok a lot, and I kind of compiled my own like mood board. And from that moment, because I do from creating the concept, the styling, the editing, of course, and then actual kind of like creative direction. So how to pose, how to the emotions I want to see invoke in the actual photos, and that's basically my approach that I kind of switch it up depending on the client.
Okay, so you pretty much answered my next question, but it was going to be, how do you stay creative and inspired when working on multiple projects, especially under tight deadlines?
So I would say staying creative. So it's just crazy because, as I said, I use the medians a lot, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, but you also have to know when to unplug. So those are good at kind of starting my thinking and like, okay, what is possible. So those, what I can see is kind of like these are possible, but I can go above and beyond. So if this idea was far, like something somebody thought of and it wasn't seemed to be doable or can be produced, I'm like, what can I do that can elevate that? So it just always finding inspiration in anything. So that could be, because I'm also a dancer. I also can sing. I also can do other things. So finding any medium in order to bring inspo in, because just looking at photos, I mean, it could be 10 photographers. They all have the same inspo. They can bring the same thing, or they see the same Pinterest photo that we all been sliding past a couple weeks. Well, how can I take that to elevate? So it's like using my other interests, other skills in order to put into the work. So, and the big thing is also I love fashion. So my direction I want to go in specifically is just editorial, everything like that, campaign. So bringing those elements that I see that's kind of already out there and just put it into everyday work.
Okay, so now we're going to switch gears a little bit. So, what's the most challenging aspect of running a photography business, and how do you manage those challenges?
Whew, okay. Yes, the most challenging part about running a photography business, I'll name just a couple. First thing is learning the balance between working with people that you know and providing services with those same people. So that goes for family, friends, and different things like that. So the only thing, it depends on the person, but for me, it has been difficult working with people, friends, and family, because I also want to make sure I'm providing a nice service, also making sure that I'm being compensated, but also I want them to come to me. So it's like three different things that I'm constantly running through my brain, but also it's finding that balance because I don't. My biggest thing, I'll charge you full price. If you need anything beyond the other things that is providing the service, I don't mind being flexible, but also I like being compensated. So finding that balance between clients, family, I say my best clients, but my easiest experiences with working with photography is people that I don't know, because it's no barriers, it's no nothing that I have to live up to. Is I can present myself in the way I want to be presented every time. So a new experience for that person, and I say the next component that's kind of difficult is learning when to say no. Learning when to say I can do this, I can't do this, I can make this deadline, I can do this, or I can't. Because I like providing service to everybody. Like if I can take in every client that has an inquiry, I would. A lot of times I can't. So it's like I have been good enough to have a network with other people, other photographers, that where we able to pass work and do this. And if I can't make a date, pass it off or whatever. But I will try to move around any little slot. I've done back to back with no breaks. I've done a shoot from like 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock back to back. Very difficult because I couldn't say no. I couldn't say, yeah, I need 30 minutes, or I need this, I need that. So yeah.
All right. So, we're both aware that social media is very big nowadays. So, what role do social media and online marketing play in growing your business, and how do you engage with potential clients through these platforms?
Let me start by saying this. Social media is so fake. Only because majority of my work, or majority of my, and that's like 50-50. 70% of my inquiries come from social media. But the 30% that doesn't come from social media, my clients are the clients that are repeat customers. they're the ones that, well, I met you through this person. I trust you, and they're booking me 3 times in a year versus a person that just found me on social media because I ran a special, and it's it's needed in order to run a successful business. But I don't think business owners should rely 100% because the best thing, the easiest way to make your business profitable or continuously be profitable is having a repeat customers, being in the community, allowing people to put a face to the name. Because you can also make content videos, you can make reels, you can make TikToks, little training things. But if they don't, sometimes people like seeing you, they like meeting you, they like speaking with you because you're an actual person. Because social media, because a lot of people don't even use social media as others do, or the people that really about wanting services are serious about what they want. They don't spend as much time as someone just scrolls. Because I caught myself just scrolling hours in a day, and it's positive but can be negative as well. But yeah, it's two sides to the coin.
Okay, and for our last question, how do you continue to grow and improve your skills as a photographer, both creatively and technically?
Oh Lord. So I would say I'm a self-taught photographer. And when I say that, I've used every means and mediums in order to grow my skills. So every every reel, every TikTok, every YouTube video, I don't ever scroll past is about photography. But I'll watch it. I'll like, okay, because for one, photography is so subjective. You can do the same thing 4 different ways. You can produce the same content different ways. So I like learning the why and the how versus like the actual product. So I'm very critical about my work. I'm never satisfied until I get to a point where I'm only satisfied with my work when I go backwards. But when I'm looking at it now, I'm like, it's always something to fix, to work on, to improve. So I always have the mentality of being better.
All right. Okay, thank you so much for talking with us today. And I'm Kennedy Newsom for the Bird Podcast.
In our first audio essay, Zion Cochran describes the life-changing effect his high school English teacher had on his life.
Growing up, people always leave a lasting mark on our lives. For me, that person was my high school English teacher, Miss Marta Popo-Ilieva. Her influence stretched far beyond the classroom, shaping how I think and who I am today. I first met Miss Marta Popo-Ilieva during my senior year. I recall walking into her classroom, feeling overwhelmed by the towering stack of books on her desk and the walls lined with posters of famous authors such as William Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, and Homer. Miss P, as all the students would call her, had a presence about her, calm yet commanding. She wasn't the type to raise her voice, but when she spoke, you listened. What stood out most was her belief in her students. She challenged us to think deeply, to question what we read, how we read, when we read, why we read, and most importantly, to reflect on how literature connects with our own lives. One day after I submitted a paper that I wasn't particularly proud of, she handed it back with a note that read, "You have something important to say. Don't be afraid to say it." That small note shifted my perspective. For the first time in life, I believed my voice mattered. Miss P also taught resiliency. There was a point in my high school career when I felt overwhelmed with juggling schoolwork, juggling high school sports, and other personal struggles. One afternoon, she pulled me aside and reminded me that growth comes through challenges. And she told me, "You don't have to have everything figured out right now, but you have to keep moving forward." Her words stayed with me, and I still hear them in moments of doubt till this day. Even now, as I pursue a career in journalism, Miss P's lessons continue to shape my work. Whether I'm writing an article or recording a podcast, I remember her insistence on honesty, depth, storytelling that connects with people on a deeper level. She believes stories have power, and that belief has become a cornerstone on my path. Looking back, I realized Miss P didn't just teach English, she taught life. Her encouragement gave me the confidence to believe in my ideas, and her wisdom taught me how to face adversity with courage. I hope everyone is fortunate enough to have a Miss P in their lives, someone who sees their potential and reminds them of their worth. And in case you're wondering, this teacher continues to better the lives of her students, as she still teaches high school. For me, Miss P was more than a teacher, she was a guiding light, and I will always be grateful for the lessons that she shared. I'm Zion Cochran for the Bird Podcast.
In our second audio essay, Kennedy Newson discusses her childhood and the strong feeling of nostalgia that inspires her even today.
I remember the sound of my grandmother's laughter as she would be in the living room watching Matlock, while my cousins and I would be outside climbing trees, going on walks, and playing baseball in the yard. The damp green grass would feel weirdly pleasant as you stepped onto it in your fawn flip-flops. A particular day I remember, like the back of my hand, is June 15th, 2012. As my cousins and neighbors and I were jumping on the trampoline, my grandmother yelled out, "Come in, y'all. It's about to be 7 o'clock. If you know anything about Disney Channel, then you would know they always play old movies and new movie premieres at 8/7 Central. Let It Shine began playing and all of us were jumping up and down as if we knew the words to the songs and the dance moves. While in the midst of jumping, we could all smell the hot, tasty seasoning of my grandmother's famous spaghetti cooking in the kitchen. It was such a good summer night. Not a cell phone in sight, just people enjoying the presence of other people. The simple life. Nostalgia feels like a soft, warm breeze on a cool evening, stirring up old memories with a tender touch. It's the scent of rain, transporting you to a time where you played outside, and the smell of wet grass and pine trees lingering in the air. The sight of an old photograph, the yellowing edges and faded smiles. It brings a rush of warmth, as if the photo itself holds the essence of times you can no longer touch, but can always feel. Even when it came to accidents we had as kids, falling off our bikes and scraping our knee. I remember when I was 10, I had just got done getting my hair curled in the kitchen. I begged my grandmother to let me go outside and play for a little bit before it got dark. After asking 1,000 times, she finally said yeah. Not even 5 minutes later, my grandmother sensed that feeling of intuition, of something being wrong. She went outside and found me lying on the concrete crying, with the bike in the grass next to me. I can still feel the rocks that were stuck to my wound on my knee. Yes, it was unfortunate, but moments like these are so precious. We actually had a childhood back in the early 2000s. I can't remember the last time I saw a 10-year-old or younger kid outside playing. Good times. There's a unique feeling that washes over you when you hear the opening chorus of your favorite childhood movie, or the familiar theme song that raises your excitement and takes you back to a place of your childhood in an instant. It's like the air suddenly shifts and the scent of popcorn fills the room, even though you haven't made any. The lighting feels softer and warmer, like the glow of a sunset through your childhood window with golden shadows across your living room. As the screen flickers to life, the characters on screen are like old friends you haven't seen in years, but who you know are still exactly the way they can make you smile. You can almost hear the faint hum of the TV, a sound that instantly anchors you to the past. The click of the remote control in your hand feels so familiar. It's the sound of innocence, of a simpler time when your biggest worry was whether your favorite character would get a happily ever after. And then, as the movie unfolds, every line of dialogue, every corny joke triggers memories buried deep. You remember rushing home from school, plopping down on the couch, ready to watch the latest Disney Channel movie with the same sense of excitement you did back then. The taste of your favorite snack, maybe a bowl of cereal or a cup of Yahoo milk, still lingers in your mouth. That feeling, the warmth, the comfort, the sense of timeliness is what makes those movies more than just entertainment. They're windows to the past that feel both distant and so close, as if you could reach out and touch it with the press of a button. The joy of nostalgia can be found in many other things besides movies. Clothes, shoes, activities, holidays, and many more things are used to ring them in. Now looking back, we realize how we took literally everything for granted. If only we could get a 2000s do-over. One more chance to enjoy the good life. Minimum phone technology, no recording or picture of everything, just simply living in the moment. Interacting with humans, which is what we're supposed to do. I miss the good life so much. I'm Kennedy Newson for the Berg Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Berg Podcast. This podcast is produced by students in Dr. Dave Davies' MCJ 344 podcasting class in the School of Media and Communication at the University of Southern Mississippi. The producer for this season's episodes is Salaudin Ahmed. Our music is from Upbeat, cover art by Madison Calkins and Greta Graves. We'll see you next week on the Berg Podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Williams.